I'm here to break some news to you guys. This weekend, in the people's main event of UFC 300, the biggest card of all time, Jerome Holloway is going to retire Justin Gaethje. And I am all but convinced of this reality. And you can come back to this video once he's done TKOing Justin Gaethje in the 3rd or 4th round. I have my reasons. Now, I know a lot of people immediately, as soon as this fight was signed, just said, oh my God, this is the end for Max Holloway. Why would he take this fight? Justin Gaethje's going to retire Max Holloway. He's going to Tony Ferguson him. Oh God, please, Justin Gaethje, don't do this to Max Holloway. Go easy on him. And I'll be honest with you guys, I was one of those people. My initial reaction to this fight was, oh no. You know what I mean? Because for some reason, I've always seen Tony Ferguson and Max Holloway as like two sides of the same coin when it comes to the UFC. Like I feel like because I saw something happen to Tony, I'm like, wow, that had happened to Max as well. Like I've seen them as the same guy for some bizarre reason. So as soon as this fight was announced, immediately I just had these PTSD flashbacks of Ferguson's head being span and his chin ended up almost facing the other direction as Gaethje just tees off on him non-stop, cracking his chin over and over again. And I just imagined Holloway's face on Tony Ferguson's body in that fight. And it hurt me to see. But then I had a revelation. Then I watched Justin Gaethje and Max Holloway fight side by side. Then I did my research. Then I re-watched Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier 2 when he moved up to 155 on 6 weeks' notice with barely a training camp, no time to adjust to the weight class, and I watched Max Holloway take Dustin Poirier's best shots and bring it right back on him in rounds 3 and 4. And then I watched Max Holloway throw away a potential TKO sequence over Dustin Poirier in that fight, even in the worst state he's possibly been in ever. He looked like a chubby Max Holloway in that fight. He was not built to be a 155er in that fight. And I watched him throw away a TKO opportunity by throwing a flying knee in round 4 on Dustin Poirier. And then Poirier caught it and they ended up against a cage. He was honestly on his way to volume TKOing Dustin Poirier. Poirier adjusts and comes back in the 5th round. All good. This ain't the Max Holloway that fought Dustin Poirier in that rematch. This is a Max Holloway who's had so much time to prepare, a very long time. Max Holloway said in interviews that he has known about this ever since he had his fight with the Korean Zombie. Ever since he had his fight with the Korean Zombie, he's known through like rumors around the office, I guess, Ilia Topuria is getting the next shot. And he even said on an interview, there's no point me waiting around at featherweight unless I'm going to fight another contender. I'm making my move to 155 because he knew that if Ilia Topuria lost, he's not going to get a shot against Volkanovski. And if Ilia Topuria won, they're probably going to give Alexander Volkanovski the rematch because he's earned it. So he has known rumors of this matchup since then. Also, Ali Abdelaziz teasing the idea of this matchup around that similar time confirms this as well. Because I remember Ali Abdelaziz saying who wants to see Holloway versus Gaethje around that time, teasing the idea of it. And again, immediately I thought Gaethje's going to win. But now I'm thinking Holloway. I'm looking at the two of them fight. I'm looking at Holloway moving around on the outside against Arnold Allen and zipping in and out with body kicks. He adjusts based on who he's fighting. I really like Holloway in this fight. I really do. I think he's the best he's ever been. And a lot of people don't realize that. They say, Prime Holloway was when he was champion. Prime Holloway was when he fought Calvin Kattar. I think he's improved since then. I think he's improved from that Calvin Kattar, Yair Rodriguez timeline. I think he's now at his best. If you watch him in his recent fights, I know the Volkanovski trilogy does not do wonders for him here. But listen, Gaethje's lost fights as well. You know what I mean? I know not as recently, but, you know, I know that Volkanovski trilogy does not look good on Max, but Volkanovski is really, really tricky for Max to fight, and I'll get into that a little bit later down the line in this video as well. Max Holloway's footwork is so much better than it ever has been. If you watch back his fight with Brian Ortega a while ago, he's a flat-footed guy. He will get going, but he's charged. Look at the way he teed off against Calvin Kattar and the way he was teeing off against Brian Ortega. Different level. Completely different level of fighter. Holloway is coming into his prime. He really is. And you know what? You can argue so is Justin Gaethje. I want to talk to you about sequences that I've noticed in this fight. Justin Gaethje is a two-sequence fighter. A two-punch fighter, sorry. He goes in, he maybe will throw leg kicks and stuff at range and a couple shots here and there, but the extent of a combination from Gaethje is a big power shot, then he steps through with the same leg that he threw a power shot from, and then he'll throw the other hand. So he'll throw a right hand, step through with the right leg, and throw a left hand. Or he'll throw a left hook, step through with the left leg, and throw like a right uppercut behind it, or a right hook behind it as well. That's what Justin Gaethje does. And it works on a lot of opponents that are also a little bit more, you know, willing to go power for power with him. We saw this against Michael Chandler. They got crazy, so it's hard to really look at the sequences of that fight. But you saw a lot of times in that fight, there would be a boom, boom, a reset. Fiziev did the same thing with Gaethje as well. There would be a boom, boom, reset, and then they'd be back at range with each other, picking, boom, boom, reset. Holloway is extremely good at riding out the boom, boom. Sus as fuck. Pause. Max Holloway is extremely good at withstanding the boom, boom, and then coming back with the baps. That's what Max Holloway does, and that's the sequencing that I've noticed between the two of them. Holloway will survive the boom boom, and then he will go jab to the body, jab up high, two, move in, more shots, pick, land more shots. And I think against Justin Gaethje, he will be able to stand up to the boom boom. I don't know why I'm describing this like a child. He will be able to survive the two-shot sequence of Justin Gaethje. And if he does, he can continue a combination and continue an exchange that will massively benefit him, in my opinion. There will be moments in this fight where they're just at range, picking shots against each other, Gaethje landing big shots, Gaethje landing low kicks, Holloway landing kicks of his own to the body and, you know, little taps at range with rangy shots, just picking his shots. Both guys are going to be landing shots, but I think what this fight comes down to is those exchanges, and that's where the fight is going to be dictated, and that's where the fight is going to be taken advantage of by one of these two opponents. And I think Holloway can make Gaethje uncomfortable with having to exert himself so often. Because Gaethje's going to throw, and oftentimes when he throws the two shots, he's not as much on balance as he normally is. We've seen him throw himself off balance a few times, but he's not as set within his stance. He's not as stable after he throws those two shots. And if Holloway can avoid the second shot of that combination, where Gaethje's swinging into it, I think he can resume an exchange with Gaethje in an advantage massively for him. In a massive advantage for him when he resumes that combination. When he feels the second shot come that Gaethje throws, and then he steps back in with a jab and pops Gaethje's head while Gaethje's a little bit off balance, and then he steps in again and lands a body shot and a head shot and a kick to end off the combination as well. I think he can really control the momentum of this fight quite well by doing that. And that's going to come around the late second, third, fourth round. And that's where I think he'll take advantage. I also want to talk about some other things as well. People are talking like Justin Gaethje is this guy who's going to just knock out Max Holloway. And I've been watching a lot of Justin Gaethje fights back. Man, I watched Michael Chandler walk headfirst into him with his hands down and eat his best shots. I know he dropped Michael Chandler with an uppercut. I don't see uppercuts landing here from Gaethje against Max Holloway. I don't. I think Chandler is prime to take uppercuts from Justin Gaethje. He's a shorter opponent. He was fighting with a very high guard. He was dipping down into shots quite a bit. He was doing a lot of dipping down and then front kick and dipping down and jump knee. He did that quite a bit. So he was primed to eat an uppercut. I don't think that's going to be an option for Gaethje here. I don't think the uppercut is going to be an option. I think he's got straight shots, which he's not the best at, but he does have quite a good one. He's got a good straight shot. But normally it's the hooks that I think Holloway's going to have to worry about here. And I think Holloway has the boxing to avoid the straight shots and the hooks of Justin Gaethje. I really do. I think he has that ability to avoid those shots, roll with them where he needs to, take them where he needs to, because again, other than when he eye-poked Edson Barboza and their head kick against Poirier, which I just don't see Gaethje getting 2 back-to-back head kick KOs in a row. I really don't. He eye-poked Edson Barboza and then KO'd him. But other than that, we're looking at KOs over James Vick and Donald Cerrone. Like, I don't rate their chins. I really don't rate their chins. I don't rate Chandler's chin, and he took Gaethje's shots. I think Holloway's got a better chin than Fiziev. Like, there's a lot of fighters I think Holloway has a better chin than Gaethje has fought before. Maybe he's more hittable than them. Maybe that's what the argument's going to be against this take. But I think Holloway it will go to a decision or a finish for Holloway. I don't think it's like Gaethje's fight to finish, where he's just going to lay out Holloway and shatter his chin, which is unbreakable as of the looks of things. This guy has not been dropped. He's taken big shots. He knows how to take big shots. It's not like foreign to him. I reckon Holloway's got a really good shot here. I also want to talk about the low kicks as well. A lot of people talk about low kicks, and this is where I'm going to talk about the stature of former Holloway opponents as well. A lot of people talk about low kicks against Holloway. Yair Rodriguez was landing. First of all, Yair Rodriguez can low kick from a range and a footwork style that's a lot more difficult to read than Gaethje's. You know when Gaethje is in a position to damage you. With Yair Rodriguez, you really don't. You really don't know as much. And other than that, the only time Holloway's really been picked apart with low kicks is against Alexander Volkanovski. I want to tell you why he was picked apart with low kicks against Alexander Volkanovski. When Holloway fights a shorter opponent, his stance is wide. I'm talking gouge your eyes out wide, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking gouge your eyes out wide. His stance is wide. He widens his stance. His hands go way wide. He almost goes more karate stance. He starts edging forward a little bit more because he's got a shorter reach than these shorter guys like Alexander Volkanovski, which is crazy. Even though he only has an inch reach disadvantage to Gaethje here, Volk did have a reach advantage over him. He widens his stance so he can naturally be on the level of Volk a little bit more. He doesn't want to be punching down at Volk. He wants to lower himself, and the way of doing that effectively is to widen his stance. And when he does that, he leaves that lead leg open to be chopped a bit more. When we've seen him against Arnold Allen, when we've seen him against Calvin Kattar, when we've seen him against other opponents like this, his stance is not as wide, and he can move a lot more. Look at the fights when he fought Holloway, when he fought Volkanovski. A lot more ploddy. A lot more ploddy. He's encroaching in. He's taking shuffle steps in. There's no erratic movement around the outside, in, out, body kick on Allen and scoot out again. There's none of that because he can't do that from the stance when he fights Volkanovski because he's so wide. He has a much narrower stance. He's a lot lighter on his lead leg, and I think that's going to really benefit him against Justin Gaethje if Gaethje has a plan to chop those low kicks. I also want to mention that Holloway has the thickest calves. I think there's a picture. I've never been able to find it again. I would pray if anyone can show me it on Instagram. I'd love to post it on Twitter. Of him and Jeremy Stevens playing Xbox together. Weird picture, I know, but it's a very old picture. Back when Holloway, I remember it from ages ago, and I know someone else has seen it as well. This is back when Holloway was on the come up at featherweight, before he'd even got ranked. He'd started his run after losing to Conor McGregor. And the calf difference between the pair of them. There's a reason you didn't see much effect, even though Volkanovski landed so many leg kicks on him in their fights. He's got dense calves. I think he can take a low kick. He's got dense legs. He doesn't seem to take low kicks that badly in general. And in this fight, I think his stance can be a lot narrower and he can have a lot better footwork. A lot better footwork and a lot lighter footwork as well, where he's less set and low. There's a lot more things I want to talk about in this fight as well. Max Holloway is going to take momentum. And when he cracks Justin Gaethje, which I do believe is going to happen in this fight, he will not start, like we've seen a lot of opponents before do against Justin Gaethje, swinging for the fences against him. He won't do that, and I think that's what's going to benefit him and lead him to a TKO win here. It's something that Poirier did quite well in their first fight against Gaethje. I know Gaethje's evolved since then. I completely understand. But the finishing sequence is the finishing sequence. Gaethje of now or Gaethje of old. If he's wobbled, he's just Gaethje wobbled. It's not, this is prime Gaethje whilst wobbled. That don't count. Poirier wobbled him, and the reason why Poirier was then able to put him away from wobbling him, where others have been able to wobble Gaethje but have failed to put him away, is because he then went full volume on him. He started throwing a bunch of shots. And when people swing heavy, Gaethje goes with the ebb and flow of the fight. He'll roll with shots and get a hold of you and roll back and throw back at you. And he caught Chandler at that, trying to finish him in round 1. Chandler was trying to put it on Gaethje in round 1, swinging heavy shots on him. And that let Gaethje back into the fight. When Holloway, if he gets a reaction out of Gaethje that's a slight wobble by landing a crisp shot, which Holloway can do. He can sting you, he can hurt you. I don't think Holloway's the guy who's going to flatline KO anyone. I'm not saying he's got iron fists and granite in his hands. He's got the power to wobble Gaethje though. I know that. And if he does, in those later rounds, 2 or 3 or 4, the opportunity to finish Gaethje is going to come from the fact that it's not just Holloway looking to swing that extra 1 or 2 shots that's going to flatline him. It's Holloway that's going to be willing to throw an extra 8 or 10 up against the cage. And when you're wobbled, it don't need to be a massive power blow. It needs to be a tap-tap. Once you're already wobbled and your equilibrium's already gone, a couple taps on that chin clean from an educated striker like Holloway who knows what he's doing when he's got a guy backed up against the cage in danger, that's where we're going to see Gaethje start to fall. I love Holloway in this matchup. I know people act like I'm talking about this like a joke, but I know I'm doing Jerome Holloway. This is Jerome Holloway. But there's a lot of technical things that I really think benefit Max Holloway in this fight. I also think he's going to shoot takedowns. I think he'd be dumb not to. I'm not going to bet. That's not what I'm basing my prediction off of because I know it's far-fetched because we normally just don't see that from Holloway. But I think it's something that he's going to definitely incorporate into his game here on a guess. So I'm going to guess that he does that. I think in the middle of exchanges, we're going to see him shoot a double leg or 2. We're going to see Gaethje's hips get square with him. And I think once he does that a little bit, we might see a different Gaethje on the feet. I love Holloway in this matchup. I really, really like Holloway in this matchup. And I think he's going to win. I think people are acting like he's going to get chinned. I'm not trusting it. Like, dude, I know people talk about that Ferguson beat him. Gaethje didn't drop Ferguson. We've seen Pettis drop Ferguson. We've seen Lando Venata drop Ferguson. It was with a knee. I get it. Different type of shot. But still, we've seen Ferguson dropped and wobbled throughout his career. And then in that fight with Gaethje, he showed what a granite chin he has. Ferguson has a granite chin. He has a granite chin. But I think his recovery is what saved him up until that point. And then once he fought Gaethje, it was like, wow, what a chin this guy has. I think people are overestimating Gaethje's punch power a little bit here. I don't think it's going to be that much trouble for Max Holloway. This could age terribly. It really could. But I think I've got a good read here on this. I've got Max Holloway. Poirier don't throw kicks. He really don't. I know I'm just randomly springing it up out of nowhere. He'll throw some. He can't turn his hips over. I was watching Poirier kick Gaethje in the first and second fight. And Poirier, it's almost like every kick that he throws is like a near front kick off his rear leg. He can't turn over his hips. Holloway showed a great ability to do that against Arnold Allen. And he showed an ability to do that whilst being in and out. I really think he's improved. He moves differently than anyone we've seen Gaethje fight at lightweight. Poirier inches forward and plods and steps. Fiziev does the same thing, Mike Tyson style. Paulo Costa of the lightweight division looks like he's got the most power in the world. We ain't seen him wobble or drop a single opponent, it feels like, other than Renato Moicano. I feel like Max Holloway is going to be different footwork-wise. I think this is going to really, really interrupt Gaethje's 2-shot sequence style. I really think it is. And I think Gaethje's going to have a hard time setting up shots to then land the big one. I really do on Max. I really don't think Max Holloway is going to be there in front of him in this fight. I think he's going to be moving, hands at range, looking. You know when Holloway starts looking down his nose at his opponents? I think that's going to be a benefit for him. That's when you know Holloway's on, when he's at range, when he starts looking down his nose at his opponents, hands up, chin up in the air a little bit, and then he'll start to encroach on his opponent into the pocket. And again, it's about the sequencing of this fight and the momentum of this fight. 2 shot sequences from Gaethje. He don't throw more than that. He really does not throw more than that. He may throw a third now and again. Once that 2 shot is done, if Holloway is confident enough in his chin and he feels a few of them and he's like, yeah, I can take those. If he takes the second shot or dodges it, the return fire, I think, will really have Gaethje in trouble. I really do think it will have Gaethje in trouble. He'll throw the 2-shot sequence. Holloway will either eat the second shot or avoid it. That will be the story of the fight. Can he eat the shot or not? If he eats the second shot of the sequence or avoids it, he'll then snap back in on Gaethje. Jab to the body, jab to the head, 2, step through, body kick, spinning back kick at the end. That's when Holloway gets into his flow state. When he gets the first reaction out of you, when he gets the first exchange out of you, then he can continue and try and build pressure. I think this is going to start to happen around the late second round or third or fourth. I think Holloway has a massive cardio advantage over Gaethje. I really do. I really think Holloway has a good cardio advantage over Gaethje. I'm not saying Gaethje has a cardio flaw, but I think in this style of fight, momentum-wise, in the later rounds, it's going to lean towards Holloway. And I really see him putting away Gaethje in round 3 or 4 by TKO. That's my take on the fight. He's had a much better time moving up to lightweight. I didn't even mention that in this video. He's had a long time. I think I did at the start. He's looking good in the division. It's a new challenge for him in his career as well. I really like it. And I also feel like Holloway's in a mindset here where his back's up against a cage and he knows he's in for a dangerous fight. And in my opinion, I just have a vibe that Gaethje, the pre-written result of this fight is somewhere in Gaethje's head. This ain't like, man, he's going in there against Poirier who beat him before. Oh, he's going in there against Khabib. You know what I mean? Oh, he's going in against Fiziev. Dangerous up-and-comer. This might be the end. Everyone's picking against Gaethje. I think Holloway's a little bit I think he's being underestimated by Gaethje just a tad. Just a tad. And I think that's going to be enough for Holloway to win. Lighter on his feet due to a slimmer stance. A thinner stance, should I say. Because he's fighting a taller opponent that he doesn't have to go down to the level of. He's always had trouble with that. Same thing against Frankie Edgar. He had trouble in that matchup. I think he can shoot double legs here. I think they will help him in this fight quite a bit. And I think he's just going to be too versatile for Gaethje. I've watched the two of them side by side. I'm watching Gaethje fight people that are stood right in front of him, going for 2-shot exchanges with him. Even Poirier in their second fight. Like, he wasn't putting together the volume and the combinations that he was in the first. Maybe that's because Gaethje isn't there as much as maybe he is now. You know what I mean? Maybe that's because Gaethje isn't there as much now as he was back when they had their first fight, where he was more okay to just take those shots. But I think Holloway is going to move more than anyone Gaethje has fought recently at lightweight. And I think he's going to have good flurries here that are going to change momentum. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I'm going with Max Holloway via 3rd or 4th round TKO. Gaethje will start strong. Holloway will have moments in round 1 where he lands a couple dynamic shots. That's going to be the story of the fight. Couple low kicks from Gaethje. Couple big shots from Gaethje. Couple touchy shots from Holloway. A spinning back kick or 2 from Holloway. A kick or 2 from Holloway will land at range to the body. Round 1, Gaethje. Round 2, Gaethje's doing the same thing again. He's starting strong, but this time, Holloway's starting to punish him after those initial exchanges. Round 3, Gaethje will start the exchange with his 2-punch combo. Holloway will land back. Gaethje will then try to resume another punch combo to get respect and get the momentum off of him. Holloway will be pressuring and Gaethje will be like, I got to throw another 2-punch combo. If that don't put Holloway away, that next 2-punch combo does not put Holloway away, or, if Holloway just eats that shot, or if Holloway avoids those next 2 and is still able to remain in the pocket, the double up of momentum and the double up of pressure after that, I could see Holloway breaking him. round 3 or 4, TKO. I'm going to say round 4 late. I could see it being round 3 late as well. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Holloway will be the BMF champion. Gaethje will retire from the sport. He will see no use in competing if it's not to be the best in the world. I think that's the mindset he's going into this with. Holloway will be the BMF champion of the world. He will strap it around his waist. And Conor McGregor, if he beats Michael Chandler, will fight Max Holloway for the BMF belt later this year. The winner will fight for the title. We'll see if I'm right. Toodle pip. See you later. Goodbye.